Welcome back to Popula, where we explore the lesser traveled avenues of pop culture. Today is an exciting day because, like a lot of older fans out there, I guess the Mego Corporation is what really got me into toy collecting. And we are going to be looking at something very special. The first Marvel characters that Mego has produced in more than 40 years. This is, like I said, the first wave of Mego officially licensed Marvel figures that have been produced probably since the late 70s or early 80s. So this is kind of a big deal because the Mego Corporation got back into business, I think it was in 2018. So they've been operating again for about 7 years now. And during that time, we got a lot of great figures. We got classic monsters. We got more Star Trek figures. We got lots of DC superheroes. And then I guess it was last year, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of World's Greatest Superheroes, they started releasing the remakes of the classic DC characters. And it was rumored for a long time that Mego was going to get back into Marvel. It was questionable, I guess, for a while because I guess securing the license from Disney, who now owns Marvel, was a little bit challenging. But I went to Mego Meet, actually, in Columbus, Ohio in 2023. And Marty Abrams, the president of Mego, was there. And it was there that he made the official announcement that Mego figures would be forthcoming. This is the first wave that came out around Christmas time, 2024. And by the way, stick around until the end of this video because I'm going to reveal something, if it actually is a revelation. It's something that Marty said to me personally at the convention that I haven't seen publicized anywhere else. But we got this nice box right here with 4 figures in the first wave. And, you know, longtime collectors will know that these 3 are remakes. And this is a new figure that's never been made before. And that's one of the exciting things about what Mego has been doing lately with DC and Marvel, is that they are remaking some of the classic characters that we owned 40 or 50 years ago, but they're also mixing in new characters that they never made before. So Electro is new to the set, and I can't tell you how happy I am that the Lizard and the Goblin are included. Those were definitely some of my favorites as a kid, and I wondered when this whole Marvel thing came up whether those figures would be made again, and they are. They're in the first wave. They're some of the coolest characters, as you'll see once we get them unboxed. And here's another fun fact. Back in the day when Marvel was producing Mego characters in the 70s, I think out of I forget the exact number right now. It was 13 or 14 characters that they made. They only made 2 villains for Marvel back then, and it was these 2. Now here they are again. So we got this nice box. Take a look at the back of it now. It's got some artwork of the characters. And if you can see, like right here in the bottom corner here, there's an old headshot of Marty Abrams. He's not quite that young anymore. I think this might be from the 90s. But he still proudly puts his image on every product that he puts out these days. Now, these were, I'm not going to go into like all the difficulties that some collectors had getting these on DisneyStore.com, because that's where they were for sale at Christmas time. And as I understand it, they sold out really quickly. The website experienced a couple of crashes. You can read stories about the experiences people had online. I'm not going to really talk about that. I will admit I was asleep at the wheel and I was wrapped up in Christmas. I forgot about the orders, and I ended up having to go to eBay to get my set. So I paid more than the retail price. The retail price is pretty fair. But I ordered mine on eBay, which is why it came to me in this Disney Parks bag, because whoever initially purchased it, got it at a Disney park, they were for sale in the gift shops of Disney parks also. So there's not a lot more I have to say about this package or the history of these characters. We're going to take a look at them in depth. I'm going to unbox them, and we're going to see how they compare to some old Marvel characters. And we might even have like a surprise guest villain making an appearance, even though, as I said, Marvel only made 2 originally. So we'll take a look at these unboxed after the jump. So here we have unboxed the first 4 Marvel characters, the first wave. Now, Mego has gone on record as saying that I think there's going to be 4 additional waves this year in 2025. So we should be getting about a wave a quarter. And that totals, I'm bad at math, 16 characters. So maybe 16 new characters during the year. Of course, it's open to a lot of speculation which characters will be included. If I had to guess, I think that I would assume that there's going to be an Avengers wave with, any combination of the Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, the Falcon, all of which are characters Mego made in the past. But, they have to have new characters mixed in as well. So you never know who we'll get. Black Panther, Black Widow, Hawkeye, you never know. But back to these figures, the Wave 1 Marvel figures, the Spider-Man figures, I think that they are just gorgeous. They're really faithful reproductions of what we saw 50 years ago. The Goblin has that exact same, look on his face. It's a mix between benevolence and menace, I guess. It was really hard to find him back in the day, in the 80s or 90s, if you were looking at the used toy market with his bag. So it's nice to have one with the bag. It's just a beautiful figure. One of my favorite Megos of all time. And then, of course, we got Spidey himself. We've got the Lizard. The Lizard is very much like the Goblin. The Goblin's having a little difficulty standing right now, but maybe we'll just lay him down if he doesn't want to cooperate. But the Lizard is very much like the Goblin in the sense that he's a real faithful reproduction of the original. He's got that lizard-shaped head, which Mego infamously reused for the Star Trek Gorn. They just did a paint job on it and called it the Gorn. He's got scaly hands and scaly feet, just like he did back then. And he's got the kind of like I don't know what you'd call it. It's kind of like it's almost like a stuffed animal type of tail here, which is quite nice. And his lab coat. The new figure, Electro, I think is nice also, a nice addition to the group. The one criticism I have is, and you'll hear this stated elsewhere in other reviews as well from other reviewers, that the new Megos tend to be, the sculpts are a little bit more modern, I guess. He's got kind of a severe, more angular look to his face, as opposed to the goofy charm of the original heroes where they always seem to be, even the villains, seem to be smiling and just kind of goofy back then. So maybe the head sculpt is a little bit modern for my taste, but I like the figure, really glad to have the figure. Now, as I said, there might be a Fantastic Four wave in our future. I think there's a good chance of that. Avengers, I meant to say Avengers. Fantastic Four would be another nice one, especially with the movie coming out this summer. They could reproduce their FF wave that they made long ago. But for right now, let's take a look at how these figures compare to some of the classic figures, which we have right over here. Here we've got the Avengers. We may be seeing, like I said, we may be seeing some new issues of these figures, some reissues. The Avengers may be in one of these future Disney waves for all we know. Mego and Disney waves. But we've got some classic characters here. We've got the new Spider-Man. This is an original Spider-Man from the 70s. So here they are side by side. You could see how they look together, not much difference. I'm excited about the possibilities. I don't know what other figures Mego is going to produce for Marvel characters, but I do like that they, so far they're keeping it kind of Silver Age, keeping that old school vibe. I'm really happy with the first wave, the Spider-Man wave. And at the beginning of the video, I teased that we might have an additional villain joining the group. Even though, as I've stated several times already, there were only two back in the day, the Lizard and the Green Goblin. Well, here's the Mandarin, who's going to take his place alongside the world's greatest supervillains right here. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is the Mandarin doing here? Where did he come from? This is not an officially licensed Mego. This is a custom. I bought that 2 years ago at Mego Meet from a guy, a very, very cool custom toy maker named Brent. His company is called Brent's Dolls, and I purchased several of them. But it's interesting because when I saw the Mandarin on his dealer table, I had to have one to go with my Mego Iron Man. And I told him, that it would go great with my Mego Iron Man. And Brent's comment to me was, I always thought he was a foe of Spider-Man. I said, no, he's mainly a Iron Man nemesis. So there you have it. These are the Marvel Megos, old and new, that we have for now. Of course, any number of new characters could be forthcoming. One last thing I do want to say about Marvel, or not Marvel, but Disney and Mego, is that I chatted with Marty Abrams, the president of Mego, at Mego Meet. I actually ran into him kind of informally, like at breakfast that morning before the convention started. And I went up to him right away. I introduced myself because I had actually interviewed Marty. I've had the privilege to interview him on a couple of occasions, but we'd never met face to face. The other interviews were phone interviews. Now here comes the big potential spoiler here. But one of the times I interviewed him, we talked exclusively about Star Trek. And so I wanted to remind him of that when I was introducing myself to him, but I misspoke and I said, I talked to you on the phone about Star Wars. And he immediately told me, yes, we've got the license. We are going to be producing Star Wars figures. I haven't heard that publicized anywhere else on the internet. But if it's true, that's huge news, because Marty has said for many years, for people who know anything about the history of Mego, that not getting Star Wars was it was his number one regret. He didn't get the license. He passed on it back in the 70s. And it was one of the factors that perhaps led to the decline of Mego. But if official Mego Star Wars figures are finally coming, maybe in 2026 after they're done with Marvel, it makes sense because Star Wars also is owned by Disney. So there you have it. You may have gotten a major scoop here if it actually comes to pass. There may be official Mego Star Wars figures in our future. I can see in my mind the first wave with Princess Leia, Luke, Han, and Darth. They would be beautiful, just like these are beautiful. But that's the subject of another video. Thank you for joining us once again on Popula. We will be back soon. Popula will always return with more unexplored avenues or lesser explored avenues of pop culture. We'll get Cap here in the group lineup. Until we meet again, friends.